Do you have anything else that you've been checking out or doing and such? Because there are other things, I suppose, that were done.
Oh yeah. Okay. So aside from all that shit, I actually got Teppen working on a emulator.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I fucking hate it.
Interesting.
Like I spent the time to download BlueStacks and got working and was like, yeah, and I started to do the tutorial and I saw the bars moving, like, you know, and I'll play this bar, play that bar, and I'm just like, oh, I hate this. Bummer. Total like,
You hate the bars?
I hate the bars. Also, I'm not also like a fan of its general presentation.
No.
Like the animated characters, that looks great, and the moves, that looks great. But the look of the cards and all that, I just like no thanks.
Oh, okay.
And then I went over down the street to Riot Games and started to play Runeterra.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you've played more of these games than I have, so you've got a better grasp on like the differences between them and what's what.
Teppen's a weird one. Teppen's like super goofy weird. Like it is definitely the farthest out there out of all of them.
But the Capcom though.
Yeah, I know, and that appeals, right?
Woolie actually cares about the pictures on the cards. What a loser.
I mean, it helps.
Yeah.
I mean, for real though, like one of the things that I started playing Legends of Runeterra, which I should mention is incredible. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm genuinely shocked, and I thought it might be because I'm a dumb baby and don't know nothing about card games. And I had a buddy of mine who was an old Magic the Gathering nerd and then became a Hearthstone nerd and is now a Runeterra nerd like overnight. And he's like, oh, no, this thing is this is much closer to Magic. There's a lot more counterplay. There's less situations like in Hearthstone where you're just sitting with the winning set of cards in your hand waiting to play them, and then the opponent can't do anything about it. But so yeah, game's great. But I loaded it up, and one of the first things that happened is they go through the tutorial, right? Yeah, you got to do a tutorial to teach people how to use cards. And one of the first things they do is they give you a Garen card, and Garen's a champion in League of Legends. And when the card levels up, which it can do, he does a spin attack and then heals himself. And I go, oh, when I played League a couple weeks ago, Garen was super overpowered because he could heal when he would spin. I know that.
I remember.
I know Garen. And then I played more, and it's like, oh, look, that guy has a Teemo. Fuck! Fuck, I hate Teemo. Fuck! And playing against Teemo in this card game gives you the same exact emotion as playing against Teemo in League, which I have to say kudos. Big kudos on that. That infuriating little shit that I love to play as, but holy crap. So yeah, no, the fact that it is a recognizable series of characters to many, it matters a lot. Like even Jinx. I know you've seen Jinx at cons for years and years and years. She's in there. She can get a gun.
It's something that I find really fun is seeing how characters that you recognize, how their abilities are adapted into the format, you know?
Oh, it's fascinating.
It's really interesting to see how Sigma, I think like whatever it is, like unyielding vengeance Sigma or something. Excuse me. Is a card that is pretty cheap to play, and he starts pretty garbage, but every time he dies, he gets a little bit stronger. and you can play him indefinitely over and over and over
Yeah.
again, you know.
Perfect.
And like he just keeps coming back a little bit stronger every time, and it's just like, fucking go away, Sigma. Never, you know.
Let's get out of here. Oh, again with the Sigma.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah, probably. Like I'll use Teemo's example because he's a very popular and hated League character, and he exemplifies it the best. I think he's the best adaptation of any of them that I've played. In League, Teemo is a character that can often go invisible, and has a blow dart, and puts poison mushrooms all over the fucking ground. And when you walk on them, they're mines.
Okay.
And just constantly hangs out invisible and floods the lane with shit and pokes at you if you try and move forward. Infuriating, right?
Okay.
In Runeterra, he's a super, and also he's super weak, and you can kill him easily if you catch him. If you bring him out in Runeterra, he's an elusive card, which can't be attacked by anything other than other elusive cards or spells. So most units just can't attack him at all. And when you play him and he manages to attack you, he plants a bunch of poison mushrooms on your deck. And so every round you fucking draw a card, there could be a mushroom that does a damage to you on your deck.
Okay.
And once he levels up after doing enough of those mushrooms, instead of adding 5, he will multiply the amount by 2. So you go from 5 mushrooms, 8 mushrooms, 12 mushrooms, 15 mushrooms, to 30, 60, 120. And then you're just, every time you pull your deck, a card, you're like, oh, there's 4 mushrooms on this, I take 4 damage. Oh, there's 7 mushrooms on this, I take...
Which is like, which is like fighting him. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's this infuriating shit show of, I can't kill that fucking piece of shit, and he keeps putting these fucking mushrooms down.
So there's so when Zero came out, he introduced the memory mechanic, which is basically, as Zero plays more cards, he gets his memories back, and as he gets his memories back, he becomes stronger. You know, your attacks get better, you do more damage, and it's all based on unlocking things that you already had, you know. But what's cool is then they can apply that to other characters that can also like make sense with that, in the sense that so there's a card called Veteran Agent Leon, right? And basically it's like there's a card that is Leon in RE4 after he's been through the shit. And if you play it at the beginning, then he's kind of just like regular, like RPD, like sort of like Strength Leon. It's just a normal card, pretty tough, but whatever. But if you play it after your memories are like higher and higher and higher, the experience he gets as an agent goes up, so that when you drop him on the board, it immediately like attacks everything, depending on how much experience he's had. And then he becomes like an insane super fucking card.
Because he's ripped and he's juiced.
And he's learned so much shit since RE2. And now that it's RE4, he's got the jacket and he's fucking, you know, taking on Las Plagas by himself, you know? So yeah, that type of thing is like, oh, that's interesting. That's like, you kind of found a way to, it's called flavor, someone says? Yeah, flavor. You found a way to like take the mechanics and make them fit properly with the character's lore, you know. That's always a fun little thing.
So like that's applying to League, which is, I've heard popular. I've heard that League could be popular. On top of that, probably the weirdest thing about Runeterra by far is that you're not allowed to buy card packs.
So how does it work?
There's no way to buy card packs at all. So the way that it works is that 90% of the cards that you will acquire, you are basically just playing matches and earning XP and just unlocking just packs, like packs of cards or champion packs of cards or shards, which are the, you know, the, what would you call it? The currency to just make new cards. They give you a bunch of wild cards, which is like, oh, you got a rare wild card, which means you trade it in for one rare. And you're just basically grinding XP to go up these progression paths for various regions, or to upgrade your weekly chest, which will just drop a shit ton of cards.
But there's got to be some form of like micro that you can dump into.
There is.
Yeah.
Most of it is cosmetic. Like, do you want a different looking board? Do you want a different looking little animal mascot on your board? And if you do want to spend money on cards, it is go to the card you want, click on it, and then buy it.
How about that?
If you have a wild card for it, you can use a wild card. If you have the shards for it, you can use shards. Or if you want to pay a dollar amount for that, just buy it.
Interesting.
That being said, the rewards paths that they have, like the way it works is a little weird, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 regions in the game, and they function like the magic system of like different colors of mana, right? So in Runeterra, you can only make a deck out of 2 areas, but realistically, that's like you can have a blue-green deck or a red-orange deck, or
color
whatever,
mixing, right? Yeah.
And each of those regions has a very, how many? It's like 30 item path, like progression path. And when you go down it, they give you a shit zillion cards. Like a fucking ton of them. And once I'm halfway down one and like a third of the way down a bunch of the others. And once I'm done that, like, I will be drowning in the vast majority of the game's cards, except for maybe champions, which are the most expensive. And you get one of those a week fairly easily, probably more. So this is easily the freest of the free card games, in terms of monetary spending.
Because with Teppen, like you earn cards, through events and playing and grinding out gold and stuff. But you buy, like, so you can, there's different, like there's all the different currencies basically are for buying decks, and like or rather not decks, but like I guess a booster pack equivalent. But the only way to get a specific thing that you want is to it's kind of like the Overwatch sort of like duplicate loot system, where it's like you have to build up duplicate currency and then forge the duplicate currency into the specific cards you want. So
that's what dust is in Hearthstone, and the shards here. It's
predicated on you having fuck tons of shit you don't want to turn into a thing that you do, so
yeah, you get that for duplicates here, because you can only have 3 of each card, but they also give out wild cards like candy, like the champion ones, which is like orange rarity or whatever you would call it. Those are rare. Those are rare as shit. They cost like 3,000 shards, and they're fucking super expensive, right? Everything else is fucking dirt cheap. I'm drowning in wild cards for everything other. Like I have already made like I net deck because I'm really bad at making my own decks, at least for now. And I've already made like a proper deck with just my first week's amount of cards, and I was able to pick like grab this, grab this, grab that, grab that, kind of shit.
Okay.
Well, the game is fucking incredible. If you were more interested in just cards, just playing cards, like a good card game, I would extremely big recommend this one. As it is really good.
That sounds sounds interesting. I saw lots of people pointing out that they thought it was silly that I care about the pictures, but you know, I probably wouldn't have picked it up if I didn't want to see some of that artwork. So I guess it's one of those bits where I'm like, yeah, the thing that draws me in is oftentimes not the thing that's going to draw in a card game enthusiast. So I'm just a different weird audience, you know. I like the Capcom stuff in Teppen, and I'm kind of like drawn towards that. Don't really have much attachment to League characters or the Riot brands.
I have like I saw somebody say, like, didn't Pat say he got into it because of League? Like, no, I am familiar, and it is like cool to see something I recognize. But like the main thrust of it is like, this is just a really, really excellent fucking card game. It's just really, really high quality.
Yeah,
everything about it just screams. Like, first of all, it's gorgeous. It sounds great. Yeah. Like the card, and when the card levels up, it's really flashy. It's got like Paige was watching it, and she said that it looked like I was playing a fucking pachinko machine.
Oh wow, okay.
Because just like,
I mean, I would imagine
flash.
It's got the budget to fucking gleam, you know, no doubt. And you gotta have the addiction triggers for sure, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have the sound effects and the particular type of lens flare that makes you get a little bit of an adrenaline rush every time you see it, you know. Slot machine chemicals, right? Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just like, you know, there's like the fact that it's a card game comes like third, I suppose. But and the other card games that I
hold on. If that comes third, one's Capcom, then what's second?
Power Gap. For emphasis.
Okay. All right.
And you know, when I got into Yomi, like I was on the basis of like loving the mechanics and also liking the characters and liking the fighting game sort of approach to things, you know. So that's it. That's how I go on the thing. So I probably shan't be checking out Runeterra, especially not since I'm fucking gunning for top 100 in Teppen, and I might actually make it.
Really?
I might.
That's bananas.
I mean, I got yeah, like I feel like I'm getting better because like I'm recognizing meta decks faster. And that means I'm implementing a shutdown strategy faster, and that means I'm seeing more surrenders.
Yeah. Runeterra games almost always end in surrender. At least from my experience. Because you get to the point where you're like, nope. Like, nobody lets the turn finish because you just see, like, oh, that's going to kill me. I have literally nothing to stop that.
Totally, yeah.
I have nothing.
There's some really crazy, there's some really great moments, and like, you know, every once in a while, like I said, like I have the replay like saved just for the just to kind of show. And like I took a look at I did a bit of a Teppen stream, you know, earlier last week, because was not able to record with Reggie for a little bit, so you know, I kind of gave people a look into what I've been doing and where I'm at and stuff, and so people got to kind of see some of the play that I was discussing. And yeah, there's just a thing where you're like, I recognize your character and your super off the bat, and then the first couple of plays have a pattern to them, and if I start to see that pattern, then this is how you stop it, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you know how to stop it, but you can't because the thing you need to stop it is at the bottom of your own deck. So it is what it is, you know. But with more knowledge like that, I think it's easier to get consistently to like top 500, top 300, and beyond, you know.
I think by far the craziest thing that I've encountered is particularly when Paige pointed out at me. Do you remember when I told you about how when I was playing League, like I was actually remarkably chill and was like, whatever, everybody getting toxic, it makes me happy. Like, you know, like, I have yelled at my screen the most playing this game of any game I have played in a long ass time.
Now, is that usually caused by the thing they drop on you, or you not getting the thing you need?
Both. But right, like 1% higher is there is a series of control spell cards in this game. I'm not sure if Teppen has them, but it's like cast a spell and kill a character outright.
Yes, there's
or cast a spell
Destroy.
and stun a character outright.
Halt. Yep.
Or do whatever the fuck.
Yep, totally.
Right?
Totally.
And just oh man, I'm gonna win, this card's gonna hit and I'm gonna win, and he just killed it.
Yeah. So
and he just killed it. My card died.
I've taken the opposite approach. I've taken the approach of like, you know, odds and stats make me feel sort of more comfortable in a lot of cases. So if I'm looking at like a Morrigan, I'm like, she's going to halt me. I'm going to lose seconds. No, like it's going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, I'm pleasantly surprised. But I'm always preparing for it to happen because like you expect the worst, you know? And when I've had matches where it's like, okay, I know what you're doing and you're about to absolutely fuck me up. But if I can get my counter, which is somewhere in this deck, I have to find it. I can stop you, right? And so you have moments where I'm scrambling, just playing any nonsense to get to the thing I need. And like, if I go through like, I don't know, like 10 out of 30 cards and I still don't find what I'm looking for, I'm just like, well, the deck shuffled bad for me. There's nothing like it wasn't in the cards. I made the correct play and I have a counter in there, but it didn't show up. It's on the bottom of the deck. What can you do, you know? So I kind of accept those.
It's the kind of situation where the particular spell that has caused the loudest just screaming fuck is there's a spell, I forget what country has it, because you know the spell cards are specific to region. So once you learn it, I'm supposed to know, okay, hold up. Shadow Isles could have if they have 7 points, they can just kill a card outright. But there's a 4-point card called Deny. And it literally just deletes the last spell you cast.
Oh yeah, Ada Wong.
And like I have seen it over and over and over where I have the win. It's right there. It's right.
Yeah.
Just
negate.
Just
it's called negate.
God, motherfucking damn it.
You drop an 8
yes,
up.
Pat hates control decks. That's right. I fucking hate them.
Well,
but yeah, I've been extremely pleased. And one of the things that I briefly mentioned earlier,
I'm running a control deck.
Yeah, of course you are, you piece of shit. Something I briefly mentioned earlier, but I will mention again to point out is that I fucking forgot what I was saying. I lost it. I got so mad about you running a control deck that I literally it just went away.
Yeah. Well, it
just went away.
I was trying. I like I said, I was running a Nero growth deck, and yep, I got controlled, and I'm like, I don't like this. This is not what I want to do. So, you know.
Yeah, it's miserable. It's just playing against Yasuo, and it's really funny because the heroes that they've chosen to be control decks are control like characters. They're characters that stun or pull or what have you. I literally can't remember what the fuck I was gonna say. I fucking hate control decks so fucking much. I hate Yasuo so much.
It sounds like you're making it sound like you've been playing this game for months.
I've been playing it for 1 week. It's
Damn.
been out for 2 or 3 weeks.
It's that new.
It's in a really weird place because if you see a guy with like a blue little stuffed animal, that means he was a guy playing in the beta. And the beta was going on since I want to say October, right? Like maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later. But then there was a bigger closed beta a little later, I think. And its active big old release, like proper, it's out, and they came out with a little expansion for it, was like last week, maybe a week before that.
Does Yasuo do cool sword stuff?
He does. He's a character that when you play a stun card, you do 2 damage to it. Like he'll just attack it and do 2 damage. And once you've stunned 4 or 5 cards, any card that gets stunned, he will just attack with like 5. And you get into situations where he's leveled up and you're like, oh man, I have this massive amount of shit on my board. And he'll never defeat it. And he plays some kind of spell that stuns every card in your deck. And you just see his card jump over to yours and go slash, 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 slash. And just your whole team die.
Interesting.
And I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Might take a look at him. Although that the effects you're describing sound a bit like Ryu, who is a direct fighter with no gimmicks.
This is the weirdest conversation ever because, like, I'm talking about.
I know. I have
the Runeterra character. No, because I'm talking about the Runeterra character.
Yeah.
In relation to the Street Fighter character, and the Street Fighter characters are obviously way older, but the Teppen version of these characters is in between the League and the Runeterra version. So every time we say, "Oh, it's like that," it's like, no, it's actually like the thing before it.
I'm using the only references I have, man. Like, I'm trying to go like, it's. I'm sorry.
No. I don't mean to shit on you specifically, but it is a weird situation where.
I wasn't talking about Ryu as a fighting game character. I'm talking about Ryu and Teppen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where I would say, like, man, Teemo and Fizz on the same team is the most infuriating shit in the world. And it actually has this moment where people go, are you talking about League or are you talking about Runeterra?
Okay. So in Teppen specifically, which is what I'm talking about, when you play Ryu, he has cards that are like the moment you play them on the board, it's just a normal card, but the moment you play it on the board, it starts damage, it hits you right away, type of thing. So you don't have
like Ryu.
You don't have to wait for the line. It does some instant damage. So yeah, like it's a little bit of that, Anyway.
Oh, there it is. It's back. It's back. I found it. Okay, great. So, dude, let me ask you a question. What limits choosing the cards in your deck in Teppen?
There is I think it's called AP. There's a point system where basically you can pick up you have up to 30 cards, but if you mix 2 decks, then you can no longer play high value cards. You can play only cards up to a value of 5 instead of 10.
Okay. Well, that's all. Wow.
So the best cards in the game are all like, they cost like 7 out of 10 to play, or like in some cases like 10 out of 10. And you cannot use the best cards of either color. You can use the weakest cards of both colors.
Okay. So it's great, like unanticipated synergies.
Exactly.
Or what have you.
Exactly. Yes.
So the way that Hearthstone did it, and it was like this massive barrier to entry for me, was that, and it also made it a massive barrier to entry, like literally monetarily, was that you had a class that you would play in Hearthstone, like Warlock or Paladin, and you would have class-specific cards, but then you would also have just general use cards that any class can play, and that general use card like pool was enormous. It was fucking gigantic. And in Runeterra, it's similar
colorless
to Magic.
Cards?
Yeah, they would basically be colorless cards, yeah. And in Runeterra, it's similar to Magic. It's like, okay, no matter how many regions they add and how many millions of cards they add, I can still only pull from 2 regions. Like there are 7 regions in the game. So I pick Darius and Elise as my champions. Like I'm pulling red and green. I only have to worry about red and green.
Okay.
And I can do stupid shit. Like I can make a deck that is literally 1 blue card and 39 orange cards. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But like it cuts it down. So like when I go to make a deck, even the baby shit decks that I've made, right? I have literally picked the champions that I like or think will work together, and then I go to the card selection and I go, I only want these 2 colors, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cards become like 60.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
But
okay, now granted that will eventually become like 120 once I have all of them, but like the scale is so different. And then the jump after that was, instead of looking at what champions I want, I would look at what cards I want or what type of deck I want, and then pick champions accordingly. But there's like a path to it instead of nothing.
I assume that the colorless cards are garbage by comparison, though.
In this game, there are no colorless cards.
Okay.
Like I think Magic probably had that, and that made sense for the analogy when you mention it. But this game has no colorless cards. Every card has a region, and if you play a champion, which you probably should, because they're much better cards that all level up and have crazy effects, you have to play cards from that region.
Okay.
Or you can only play cards from that region, that kind of thing.
So
I'm super impressed. It got me to make a deck. It was a terrible deck, but it was a deck that I managed to win 1 game with to complete like a challenge, and good enough for me.
did you understand the purpose of your deck when you
Yes, I made a
net decked it?
I made a Vladimir Heimdigger deck in which I wanted to flood the board with shit and then hurt them so that I could do damage. And those 2, 1 character steals health from allies to do damage, and the other floods the board with garbage.
Okay.
And it wasn't the best attempt, but I bet it could be a good deck if I knew what I was doing and had better cards to put it together.
Yeah, it is interesting when like there are limitations to mixing colors in the into mixing 2 colors with your deck, but then you can like circumvent those via, you know, like whatever tricks to get higher and more expensive cards on the board. I think I made reference to like that already with like the Dalamadur and shit like that, where you're just like, you do not have the ability to play this if you pull it normally into your hand, but if you send it to the graveyard and then use a resurrect random graveyard card, then it'll work, you know, and shit like that. So